Hi guys, welcome to Finpact. Here I'll be talking about everything to do with finance, career, markets, investing, and everything I've learned in being in the finance industry since I was pretty much 16 years old. So if you're interested in how to get an internship at a bulge bracket, please keep watching and hit the like below and subscribe since I am new, and I'm going to be making a lot more videos since I had a lot of questions over the years during my time at university on how to essentially get into an internship and go through each step by step in the application process. So let's begin. So number one, having a university education is essential for pretty much most of these internship programs at these bulge bracket banks. So for example, I studied at LSE and Cass Business School. I did have a transfer, and that's part of my story and how I actually got my internship at Morgan Stanley. So to start off, you do need to have a university education. Now, the reputation of your university will be also taken into consideration, but that's not to say that less reputable universities are not taken into consideration. It's just more likely for you to get further in the job application process if you go to a more reputable university. Now, your course doesn't really matter. Many people think that you have to study finance or do something economics related. Although I did study finance, I know a lot of people who I interned with at Morgan Stanley who actually studied things completely different to the financial sector. We had medical students, we had people from law backgrounds, we had people from science backgrounds. Honestly, it didn't really matter as long as they were on track for the grades they needed. So that was in the UK, that's a 2-1 or a first. And as long as they were able to do the background research about the financial sector and what is involved for that particular role, they were able to pretty much be able to get into an internship like this. I mean, not get in, but this increased their chances of getting into an internship like this. So the first one is the university, and if you're not from a very stereotypical university, a very reputable one that these banks primarily hire from, then you can boost your application by doing more for it, such as work experience. So that brings me on to the second part of these applications. Is I truly believe the emphasis on getting work experience that doesn't necessarily have to be applicable to the financial industry, but something that you can relate the skills that you gained from that work experience that could be applied for the internship and the role you are applying for. If you don't have the best of the best university, then you can definitely get in by having substantial amounts of work experience. So if you're at a place where you're coming from not the most reputable university, you can also try to build your CV by going and sending CVs around, trying to contact people to see if you can get even unpaid work experience, so that when you do come to internship applications, you can use that and talk about how you can add value in an internship, such as at a bulge bracket. So that's probably my most emphasized part of the application process, is the focus on getting work experience. The third part of an application process for a bulge bracket is to ensure that your CV and your cover letter is perfected. I will actually have separate videos on CVs and cover letters, but essentially your CV needs to be absolutely mistake-free. There must be a very concise order where you start off with your education, your university, your school, your academic achievements, and then you go into your work experience and then have a timeline on that, and then you go into your extracurricular activities and other skills. Languages is also something that they highly value. And that was something I used to boost my application because I speak 5 languages. And that's something that I find has been integral to my kind of success in the financial industry so far in terms of getting internships and even where I currently work. The CV, ensuring your cover letter is up to scratch, is tailored to the company, is tailored to the role. Don't forget that you can't send one cover letter to 50 different places. That shows that you haven't taken out the time to dedicate your application towards that particular firm. So research in your cover letter facts about the company, even performance related facts, and then tailor your experiences to that particular role you're applying for, and that company, especially as long as you are kind of in alignment with the company's values as well. Then they can sort of see from your cover letter whether or not you're a right fit, and then you sort of get invited to the next stage. So going on to the next stage, which is personally the stage I find the hardest, I do think it takes practice, is the online tests. Some people whiz through them, some people struggle with them. I think I used to struggle a lot, and now after practice I've gotten better, so it's more doable for me. But the online test stage generally comes after you've submitted your CV, your cover letter, and done your online application. Just to mention, sometimes they may not ask for a cover letter, they might ask for specific questions on their online application portal. In that case, you have to tailor your answers to the questions they ask. To the online tests. So with the online tests, you have a numerical test, which is usually around 18 questions to be done in maybe 25 minutes. And I think the platform that a lot of banks use is SHL. So you can get practice online on the SHL website. You can check with your university. I know my university had a free access thing for students, so I use that as well. And I think there's another website called Job Test Prep. So definitely check those out if you want to practice numerical tests. And also they do have practices for verbal and non-verbal, which is sort of like spotting the trends and different shapes and patterns and what would be the fifth shape in a pattern of 4 shapes and stuff like that. And then lastly, the most important in the later stages is of course the interview. So for myself, I believe in an interview, there are a few ways I like to always present myself as. And first of all, it's as myself. I like to go through everything and tell a story about where I came from, what I started off with, where my first experiences were in the financial sector, and what brought me to where I was at that point when I was doing the interview and why I was doing the interview for that role. So I start off telling my story. Of course, there are elements of technical nature that you do need to prepare. So for example, for investment banking, you have a lot of technical questions in your specifically technical interview that will be more along valuation concepts, critical thinking, looking at different case studies of a potential mergers and acquisition scenario or something like that, and giving your recommendation. And those interviews require you to think quite critically and how you can come up with something on the spot essentially to give your recommendation. I really find that they like to see how you really think, and if you can think logically even if you don't know the answer. So that's something I found was very important, that if you're in a circumstance in an interview where you don't know the answer, try to think out loud and say what you would do in that circumstance, and they can sort of guide you sometimes if they see you're along the right tracks. Of course, if you know the answer, that's then fantastic, but if you don't, that's what you can do. So also coming across in a personable way in interviews is really important, because I found that within investment banking, it's an industry where you work really long hours, especially somewhere like Morgan Stanley. And in that case, you're spending a lot of time with your colleagues. So when it comes to interviews, they want to interview someone they can see themselves staying up till really late, working on a transaction with, rather than someone who's a bit boring. But they want someone who will be able to be easy to get along with, but also they want someone that will get the job done as well, because essentially they want an intern that will make their life easier. But also staying on track of news articles is really important. So for example, if a certain company announces they are going to be doing a merger or they are going to have an IPO, those sorts of things are key pieces of information that you should have known or prepped beforehand, so that in the interview, if they ask you if there's something to do with the news that has interested you and that would directly relate to the department you're applying for, you'd be able to talk about it and also link it to how it would impact the firm and their role. So those are key stages to prepare. I will go through each key stage bit by bit in separate videos, because there is a lot that I can cover regarding this stuff. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, please leave them below. I will reply to everyone, and I can make separate videos on my experiences in the internship in investment banking and that sort of thing. But please subscribe, because at Finpact, I'm going to be talking about everything to do with finance, everything to do with career, investing, the markets. And if you guys are in application season, good luck. And I hope you guys get the internship you want. And just make sure you put your best foot forward by ensuring you cover all bases so that it increases your chances of getting the internship you want. Guys, thank you for watching, and I hope it was useful for you. Keep me posted on how you guys all do, and stay tuned for many more videos coming.